Bruce, well, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
Welcome, but thanks so much for doing this. Just a quick introduction on how we met. I think you pulled off the impossible by getting this body through the finish line in last year on the Mossel Bay Ironman, but it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. So our personal experience has been with each other through fitness coaching and stuff. But the reason why I wanted to chat to you today was you're probably one of the most interesting people I've been fortunate enough to meet. And purely based on, firstly, I don't want to cock us up, so I want to let you describe as much as possible. But just a brief introduction to yourself on how you got into the whole coaching side of things. And then as well, if you don't mind, just touching base a little bit on, am I right in saying, like, is it a Pompe disease? That's right. Yeah, and just briefly touch on the disease, and we'll get into that. Try and put a couple of questions.
So I think my journey in fitness, I think probably started as a kid. Like I'm fortunate to have 3 brothers. So one of 4 boys. We used to, just play all sorts of sports, like just go swimming in the dam or play cricket or rugby until like someone ends up in tears, kind of thing. Yeah. And then when I was a kid, I actually collapsed. We were on a school holiday and I collapsed and I couldn't get up off the ground, and I was like quickly taken to the hospital, and I was diagnosed with a rare virus called Guillain-Barré, and it pretty much made me completely paralyzed. It attacks your nervous system. I had a tracheotomy where they put a ventilator, and I breathed off a machine for about 3 months in the hospital bed. And then I was in a wheelchair for a bit after that. And so that's where once I started recovering from that, I had to learn how to, my youngest brother, he was just learning to crawl. I had to learn how to crawl again. And then my dad got me in the pool, and I think I learned how to swim before I learned how to walk. And so that's kind of like, my love for movement and my love for like what you can do with your body. Just, I just wanted to do everything I could after that. Like as soon as I got offered like any type of sport, any hike, any kind of school camp or anything like that, I just dove at it. Like I want to just do anything I can, because I felt like I've like lost a bit of time with my body, and your body is such an amazing tool to express yourself, get rid of pent up energy and then I think over the years, sport has taken me through many incredible experiences and journeys, both from professional side as well as, from school sport to provincial sport to professional sport, and now into professional coaching. It's been a really amazing journey. And only later in life was I diagnosed with Pompe disease, which is my second rare disease. It's a lot more rare and a lot more, how would I say, progressive, like chronic. It's lifelong. Whereas my Guillain-Barré, as I had as a kid, they didn't know how to cure it, but they could treat it, and eventually you can get better, which I did. And they say it can come back one day, but I'm not worried about that.
Do you think a lot of your motivation to sport was essentially having that ability to walk and stuff taken away from you, and you just kind of felt like you...
Absolutely.
It's wild. So it was instantaneously. It didn't...
I think I started having migraines and headaches, and I'd been to the doctors. My parents had taken me to the doctors like twice, and then one day I just collapsed. Pretty much once they got me into the hospital, they did a lumbar punch. They stick like an obscenely huge needle directly into your spine to get to some cerebral spinal fluid, and that pretty much diagnosed me. And then they jetted me straight to Red Cross Children's Hospital in Cape Town, and had to have like emergency tracheotomy. They said I was pretty much flatlining.
How old were you?
I was 6 years old, turned 7 in hospital.
So you were there for 3 months, you said?
Just over 3 months. Yeah, just over 3 months, and then wheelchair for quite a bit longer.
And then, Bruce, the Pompe disease, when did that start coming into your life?
So I have what they call adult onset. So there's infantile onset, like baby onset, or adult onset. And I have adult onset. So that it can start affecting you from like 16 years older, all the way up, into your adulthood. And I only got diagnosed in 2015. So it was actually affecting me a lot before then. And my parents, looking back at my school career now, they could see there was something off. But they just thought I pushed myself too hard in my sports, because I did every single sport you can imagine at school. That pretty much, it took me 10 years to get diagnosed.
What were some of the side effects that you experienced before they diagnosed it?
I was, at the time, I was actually trying to go professional in exterior, like off-road triathlon.
Okay.
And every time I was getting to like big events, something would happen to my body. Like I'd be cycling and I would just get in excruciating pain in my legs or my torso. It would feel like a cramp, but it wouldn't actually go hard. So, this was quite concerning, and I immediately started to go to see some like the best specialists and doctors in South Africa. And some of them gave me a false diagnosis. Some of them just told me honestly, like they don't have a clue, and they were just trying to refer me to the next doctor. It actually took 10 years to finally get diagnosed. And all the while I was slowly deteriorating. These symptoms were becoming more progressive, getting worse each time, and then they were becoming more frequent, all the way to a point where I couldn't really walk anymore.
So what is Pompe disease?
So Pompe disease is a glycogen storage disease. So glycogen fuels your entire body, like your heart, lungs, and not just your muscles, like your heart and lungs are muscles as well. And basically, my body has no problem in storing glycogen like everyone else, but I'm missing or lacking the enzyme that breaks down glycogen. So when my body looks for glycogen, it's there, but it can't break it down quick enough. So in turn, it has to get energy somehow. So it starts to tear apart my muscles to use as energy to fuel my heart, my lungs, or the rest of my body to just carry on functioning. And as you can see, that's like a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Just leads to lots of pain, debilitation, and weakness, basically.
Is it life-threatening?
It is, most certainly. But I mean, I think it's definitely more life-threatening for the infantile onset. So like the babies, if they get onto treatment, they don't really have like a liver or kidney that can deal with an allergic reaction to the medication. So I have enzyme replacement therapy every 2 weeks. Took quite a long time to actually fight the medical aid to get onto treatment, because it's extremely, extremely expensive.
Okay.
And but once I was on treatment, I think I've been on it for like 8 years now, and it slowly has helped me, along with a lot of other factors like nutrition, complete change of diet. Through all my sports science background, of being able to find little tricks and little ways to help give my body the best chance.
In enzyme replacement, that's not blood transfusion, huh?
So basically, like the enzyme that you have, I'm missing. They synthetically generate that enzyme and they infuse it back into my body.
Synthetically?
Yeah.
So, like made in a lab?
I guess so, yeah.
So you obviously would have had to, because they'll have to match it up somehow, or how does it?
I think everyone has this exact enzyme. So yeah, I think they're the exact same enzyme, but I mean, I have to get every 2 weeks 28 vials.
Yeah,
I have to mix 28 vials. They go into one infusion bag, and that's every 2 weeks. And it's not so much to help me function normally, but it's also as my body accumulates glycogen, that's also a problem. The excess accumulation of glycogen causes trauma inside your cells. So like too much glycogen in your body can like also, like a bucket overflowing, that overflow can just poison and make cells explode, and that causes pain and debilitation.
So, in all honesty, why the hell are you staring down the barrel of a loaded gun? You've gone from a disease that eats your muscles when you fatigue, and now you've decided that you're gonna do Ironman and all that sort of stuff. Like, what is the thought process behind that?
I mean, I think it all stems from most like just absolutely loving movement and loving sport. And sport has been my whole life, really. It's taken me to so many amazing places. It's given me opportunities that no one else could ever have or be offered, without getting to the level that I have progressed to in sport. And then kind of to have that all taken away with this, with Pompe disease was quite a shock. And like, it's been a really big, long, emotional roller coaster. When I was younger, they told my parents I would never be able to walk again. My dad got me swimming because he knew like swimming would help develop my body a bit quicker. Then I learned to walk. Then I learned to run. And that's pretty much been my whole life. Like, people always keep on telling me things that I can't do. And, that just fuels my fire. I mean, I'm going to do everything I can to prove you wrong. So when I was diagnosed, it just shows you how little doctors even know about this disease. He told me to just like, take it easy, perhaps like lay off your sport and just enjoy the last bit of time you have with your family. And I was like, that's no life.
Yeah.
That, it might be a good life, but for me, sport is my life. And, and that was all I needed to pretty much help, like, make my brain think of what I can do to help better myself and help give myself the best chance against this disease. And at the time, he told me the treatment wasn't possible for me. He said it was too risky, too expensive. The enzyme replacement, he told me that's too risky, too expensive. Said I can get allergic reaction to it and die. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to be doing that then.
Yeah.
And then, I know that you should be doing some small form of exercise every single day. It doesn't matter how small, whether it's walking, whether it's running, swimming, whatever it may be. So that's pretty much what I started doing. I just like, he's telling me to stop. I'm going to just go and do what I can. So I couldn't really walk properly. So I went to a swimming pool and I just walked in the swimming pool. I'd try and walk for half an hour every day. Because that's low weight bearing here. It's much more easier on your body. And slowly but surely, over a long period of time, I could actually see I was getting it was getting a little bit easier. And I started walking more and more. And then I started to swim. And that was like very uplifting. Now I can swim again. And I just swam and I just swam and I swam until I felt, my body's like really feeling a lot better. Then I got into treatment. Then I started spinning on the indoor bike. And I mean, I used to start like just 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd go for a swim and jump on the bike for 15 minutes. And that was amazing. And then half an hour and then 45 minutes. And then I was like, you know what? I'm riding for an hour and a half on the indoor bike. Why can't I do that outside? So then I started kind of doing that outside, going to ride my bike and just be free and fresh air. And that's pretty much how it all started. And then I started looking at small events to do, like small mountain bike events. And then I went to 2-day mountain bike events, and then 3-day, and then 4-day. And you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
I've done a lot, and all, not just for me personally, but also just to kind of raise awareness about the many rare diseases out there, or maybe just for people who perhaps have Pompe disease and think that they, are stuck in the place that they are. You can improve. Like, doctors, unfortunately, don't know everything, and I don't think they are prescribing exercise to Pompe disease patients.
Is there any limitations you've got? That's probably not the right word to ask you. Prove anyone wrong. But I know, for instance, you did the full Ironman last year, and you had to walk the run essentially. What is the reason behind that?
So through all my sports science kind of studying and knowledge, I found that I can train my body to be super, like my metabolic system to be super fat adapted at utilizing fat to use as fuel over glycogen. So my body would generally, during sport, I can rely mainly on fat over over searching for glycogen. But you know, the fat can only kind of take you so far at certain intensities. So for swimming, I'm pretty much fat adapted. Like I can just rely on fat. For cycling, I can just rely on fat, and then I obviously put in some glucose so my body won't look for glycogen. You're feeding some glucose in, and then but running, for some reason, doesn't matter how slow I go, or even like when you walk, it requires a small form of glycogen. And that's where the problem comes in. Whenever I try and run, it ends up causing me quite a bit of pain. And so I just figured, well, that's one big loss. I just won't be able to run. And so I've kind of like stopped running. I do run every now and then with my dogs.
Yeah.
At the Ironman, I tried to run a little bit until I couldn't. And I hobbled my way to the finish.
But Bruce, so you touched on it. I mean, I'll be honest. I was one of those oaks last year when we came down and had that training camp, and you emphasized so much on nutrition and carbs and all this sort of stuff. Has that alone been a massive learning curve for you? Have you changed like your whole structure of dietary and all that sort of stuff just to accommodate a disease like Pompe?
Most certainly. I think the first things I ever learned was glycogen storage. So my body's accumulating so much glycogen. So glycogen is the problem. How do I stop building up glycogen? So I basically cut out all carbs and sugars. Pretty much went on like a ketosis kind of diet. Like half fat, high protein, low carb, or no carb actually. And I did actually see a little bit of improvement, but I know that's not really sustainable for longevity. So I started to include, I actually went like complete, away from like anything processed. Everything was like from the ground or from the earth, or like completely clean and very, very low carb. And that's kind of given me, immediately I started to feel energy levels changing. I started to, as much as I miss the carbs and sugars, it's a small sacrifice to try and help my body give it the best chance to fight this disease and to improve or get stronger or get better. And honestly, at the time, like everything I do is just to try and get a little bit faster, just to, or a little bit better, just to be able to ride with my friends, run with my friends, swim with my friends when I do go out with them.
Mentally, this must have been a massive toll on you. How did you handle it mentally?
When I was first diagnosed, it was very hard. I was kind of like, didn't quite know what, just maybe because of the information that was out there, like what was my life done? Like how much longer did I have? I was like trying to work out, do I have 2 years? Do I have 3 years? Do I have 1 year? At the time, it was extremely, extremely hard. But, I think I've been through so many adversities from a young age, and through all these little adversities, you start to build like resilience. And resilience is like a term that has taken me through so many battles. Through resilience, I mean, it can help anyone, just to kind of shift your mind from being challenged to wanting to take on the challenge, like, wanting to go out there and beat that obstacle or take on the next big thing that kind of lies in my way to achieving my goals or my dreams. And building this resilience has really just taken me to a whole nother level of kind of where I want to go and what I want to show people as well. Like, I still believe that I have a challenge, and everyone else that I meet, whether it be in my coaching or friends or as a complete stranger, everyone has a story, everyone has a challenge that they're going through. And I'm hoping that in some way they can maybe learn from the challenges that I've been through, or maybe I can give one person like a little bit of hope to kind of push themselves a little bit harder in their challenge and overcome it. If I can do it, I'm sure everyone else can too.
I often, I experienced it last year, and with your backstory on the Ironman and the whole thing, I often, especially with my mental battles that I've had, I often find myself looking back and being like, there must be some sort of element of contentness that you've got to learn to accept. And I often, and it was one of the motivating factors when I was doing the muscle base, when you did the Ironman, you were doing so well for the swim and the cycle, and then to be able to be content in accepting that the run, there's a certain portion of it I'm going to be able to walk, or I have to walk. You've got no choice. There's something very powerful about it. So, what do those conversations look like? Because I know you have them with yourself. You have to. I mean, it's part of getting through it. So, what do those conversations look like with that element of contentness that you have to have?
I think that maybe approaching it from a point of doing it for others. Like the whole reason I said yes to actually doing Ironman is that I was asked to do it for, to raise better awareness for rare diseases. And it has kind of been my journey. I have done some pretty extreme, I went from 2-day, 3-day mountain bike events. And then I was like, okay, I've hit this big platform now. I'm creating amazing awareness for rare diseases. What's next? I couldn't really see where to go next. And so then I took on the Cape Epic, which is the 8 days, known as the world's toughest stage race. And then from there, it was like, wow. I mean, I had so many battles and journeys that I went through there, mentally, physically, like especially I had to go to a few doctors before they would sign off on actually allowing me to do it. And I always find someone to get me to do it. And then, getting through that again was like, wow. As much as I maybe didn't know that I could do it, deep down, I believed I could do it. And that belief, that self-belief is you can't, you have to earn that. You can't just teach that. And then I went and I've done the Manga, which is 1,130 kilometers non-stop from Bloemfontein to Cape Town. And like even there, I think my wife and I, Tracy and I, we rode almost 4 days. So just under 4 days and with only 5 hours of sleep. And again, just like, I thought it was impossible. I thought, let me get you halfway and see how we feel. Okay, let's just go a little bit further and a little bit further. And that's pretty much the same as like going to the Ironman, just knowing that someone is going to see this and be like, wow, I mean, he's got every reason not to do an Ironman, yet he's there. Maybe I should give it a go and learn something more about yourself, and that's kind of everything I've ever done is just to try and help someone else, whether it be instill hope, inspire, aspire, whatever you, and it doesn't have to be an Ironman. It could just be, doing a 5-kilometer run or, going to do a kilometer swim in the ocean or something that you are afraid of. It might be a big goal to you, and by all means, it's going to be a task to tackle it.
No, I mean, just the fact that your backstory and me being able to witness what you did last year and then getting to know you more and stuff, that alone is just inspiring, because I'm not going to lie. There was a point before the training camp that I thought, yes, to get this duck ass across the finish line is not going to be easy. But after that training camp, I was just like, you know what? If not, why not? Why not just try? And that's why
I didn't hold my punches.
But getting into Aspire, what motivated you to now want to take this and coach people into becoming these endurance athletes or triathletes?
Before I was, I did my sports science, and then I was trying to go professional while I was studying. and and while I was kind of following that path, I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. I actually ended up working in Australia for a year with an Olympic coach that side, and it was just incredible. I saw I want to be involved in sport, and I want to help people. I want to coach. And then while I was studying, kind of following my own goals, and then all of that kind of got turned upside down with a diagnosis of my disease. So then I became a teacher, a school teacher, and through that, I'm still educating, maybe not sport, but and I saw all these things, like how people have to balance their life with work and kids and sport, and still trying to achieve their Ironman dreams, and that whole balancing act of doing this is such a it requires like a manager, and honestly, as a coach, when I kind of moved over, I took all that knowledge and tried to apply it to help people not put any strain on any area of their life, so they can still have a good life with their kids. They can still have a social life. They can still, I try and help them to train hard with the time that they have, and then and then not to put, and then still be able to do everything else that they love. And through that, I mean, I've gained some incredible moments with people that they found like this balance in their life that they never thought was there, or like sport was maybe putting a little bit too much stress, and then they just stop doing sport, and that's like the worst thing you can do, right? Sport is, you're meant to do something every single day. Doesn't matter how small, and it doesn't have to be a hectic sporting, like a cycle. Could just be going for a walk around the block with your kids or your dogs or whatever it may be. And and then through coaching, it's given me another drive. Since I can't pursue my own goals, I can help everyone else try and achieve their goals. And everyone's goals are different, and everyone's goals, no matter how small they may seem to someone who's done an Ironman, everyone's goals is big to them. So I have to understand that and help them achieve that.
Well, essentially, I mean, something I also realized is that you're not just a coach; you also become like a psychologist at some point in the whole thing. How important is the whole mental resilience in this whole journey as an individual coming into wanting to do endurance sports?
Oh, mental resilience is everything. Everything. I think someone asked, what's more important, mental or physical? And I was like, mental, 100%. Like, I think everyone's bodies are so much more. I mean, I'm living proof that your body is capable of so much more than you give it credit for. But you got to believe that you can do it. You got to like take the kind of plunge to be able to push yourself hard, or be able to push yourself to get to that next step, and believe in yourself that you can actually. So that's the mental side, mentally being able to push further than you ever thought possible. And I mean, yeah, it's not easy, and it's something that needs to be worked on, in every way, in sport, out of sport, whether it be meditation, whether it be, actually while you're actually training. There's so many ways that you can work on mental resilience.
And Bruce, one thing I actually had this conversation with Brad the other day. I said, I think if it wasn't for your knowledge of feeling, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, but I mean, what sort of impact does that play in? I mean, you essentially cut me out the other day because I'm not feeling properly before my runs, and my legs are feeling heavy and stuff. So how important has diet become in these sort of things? And it's something mentally you got to get over as well.
100%. I think everyone is always looking at fueling, or when they exercise, they're trying to lose weight, so they don't want to eat. So, which just has almost like an opposite effect. If you don't fuel your body for the training, you are just going to tear apart muscle. So basically, your body has X amount of energy available. Once you go over that, it still needs energy to keep on going. So it's going to break down your muscle. And then if you have a good recovery that night, that muscle's going to repair. And the next morning, you're going to wake up and do it all over again. You're going to tear apart some muscle and it's going to repair. But it never, ever gets stronger. You kind of just stagnate in where you are. You can do the same training day in and day out, but you say that you never, ever get anywhere, or you never, ever, it's just purely because you aren't fueling for your training. Protein intake needs to increase. There are a couple of little supplements that our body doesn't produce enough of when we start to increase our training. So making sure you take those little supplements like your iron, your spirulinas, your L-carnitines, your creatine, and also being able to just plan your meals a bit better, to fuel more, to eat more. If you don't have that much time to eat, you can always have, protein shakes in your car, or as well as like carb drinks. They're so simple and easy to get hold of these days with all the supplements out there. Of course, not everyone is equal, but like a lot of them are good up there and valuable for all of us to use. So I preach nutrition. I think
No,
I preach nutrition more than anything, and that's the difference maybe between an amateur and a pro. Is probably some of the amateurs are doing just as much, or just really good quality training like the pros, but they're not really progressing like the pros are. And so once they can get a handle on what to consume and how to consume it, and train your actual metabolic system, you're gonna just go next level.
I wanted to chat to you about this one particular point, and it's about beetroot juice. Other than me thinking that I slaughtered a rabbit in the toilet, I mean, what benefits? I mean, I honestly think, and not a word of a lie, you can ask Bradley on my back. I honestly think the reason why I felt so good after the Ironman and so good the next day was purely because of beetroot juice. And when you said it, I wasn't quite listening why it was a natural, what did you call it? Natural steroid or something.
Oh, it's like natural EPO.
Yeah. So essentially what is the benefits of?
So it helps, beetroot juice helps to like increase the nitric oxide in your blood, basically allows for more oxygen to be transported to your working muscles.
Okay.
And essentially just allowing your muscles to pump harder, breathe more, recover more. It's like a little secret tool that you can use to, they say that if they had to test the performance enhancing capabilities of beetroot juice, it would be considered a sports, like a performance enhancing drug, but it's completely natural. So it's completely legal.
So we had a loading period of it, and you said a week before.
Week and a half before you start loading. And some people eat it, but I prefer the juice, or just because you get a lot of that fiber out. Remember in race week, I tell you guys to try and take fiber out of your diet to just train your gut to be a little bit more stable. And so that's why the juice works nice, and you can kind of put another flavor into it to be able to consume it a little bit easier.
It's not doesn't look healthy, but it works out very well. But Bruce, getting back to the Ironman experience. I mean, for me, I'm not gonna lie, the training is terrible. I'm hating every minute of it because it's just coming from a professional background of rugby. We used to train every single day, but not this. I think it's the length of training, because you're out there for extremely long periods of time. So when everyone asks me, I don't give them the glamorous answer of saying, no, I think everyone should do an Ironman. I'd say to them, on the day, I had probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had, but the training is cuck. So I would like your opinion on why should somebody want to get into any sort of endurance sports?
I think endurance sports is probably the best way you can learn about your body, what you are truly capable of, both physically and mentally. And remember, endurance is very different for everyone. An endurance sport might be a 5 kilometer run for someone, but when we start thinking about endurance sports, we start thinking about marathons, 100-mile cycling events, Transpavillon's 230-kilometer mountain bike events. Those, so endurance, whether it be small or long, or like something like an Ironman, just it gives you a new approach, a new challenge, a new obstacle. And some people grow into the love of the multi-sport facet, the swim, bike, run. And some people just want to do that every single day. And that's kind of where we want to get you. It's not easy in the beginning, but eventually you wake up and you want to go for a run, or you want to go for a cycle, or later that evening you're going to hit the gym this morning, and then later that evening you're going to go for a swim. It's just built into your routine.
Yeah.
And eventually it just becomes part of who you are. You are a multi-sport athlete. And I just think it brings in a lot more creativity into your life. Doesn't stagnate you in just being a cyclist or just being a runner. It opens up, when someone asks you to go on a hike or something, you've got the fitness to go and do it. And a lot of people who want to do an Ironman, I do tell them about the hours of training and how it can put stress on different areas and how we can try and manage that better for them. Obviously, it requires a bit of a juggling act and a lot of planning. But if they can do that, they will love it. They will love race day, like you enjoyed race day. But it's, you don't want to do the training and do maybe half-heartedly and then really not enjoy race day. I mean, if I had to ask you, would you do another Ironman? I'm sure you would say yes, because of your experience on the day. So was it worth it?
Yes, 100%. I heard the funniest thing the other day, obviously now with me doing last year's Ironman and on all these pages and stuff. And essentially, if you become an endurance athlete, you like a pregnant woman that's just given birth. You forget about all the pain and suffering that you enjoyed in pregnancy, and you enjoy the fruits of what have just passed. And it is like that. I mean, it's again, when anyone asks me, because there's been obviously a lot of interest. Brad's brought a lot of interest back to Queenstown, and everyone asked me, "No, they would like to get in." I told them, the training is difficult, but the end goal, and I think it's also taught me, like I was telling you, it's taught me to be very content with being okay. I had a goal. My goal time was 7 hours 30, and I was 30 minutes past that. But there was a point in the race where, especially on the bike, where I thought I was going to be the strongest. On that headwind coming back in, it's almost like I hit a brick wall, which is but at just halfway through the run, I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to make it, but I need to be content with what I've achieved. And in essence, like you said, you learn a lot about your body, but I think you learn a lot about yourself as well. You deep diving. Has this been? I know it might be difficult to ask you, have you got any more goals to achieve? Because I'm sure there's plenty out there. But what are some of the goals you would like to achieve through this coaching experience of yours and your campaign for this disease and all that?
I think, simply and wholeheartedly just helping others, trying to achieve what they think is impossible. Through my own experience, through my own knowledge, just kind of showing others what is possible if they really put their mind to it. I mean, it didn't come overnight. Took 10 years to get diagnosed. I went from barely walking again to now completing an Ironman or completing some of the longest and toughest mountain bike events in the world. And to me, if you had asked me back then, I said it's impossible. It's not possible. And I mean, there's so many people out there who just need that extra little push, and maybe I could be that. I even write 2 articles a month now for an American journal, an online American journal, that's aimed at doctors and professionals, and I try and educate them on what I believe I've learned through my disease and what they can do to try and prescribe to their patients. People with Pompe disease, people with other, they can learn things from each other, and it's been incredible the amount of feedback I've gotten from doctors and things from overseas, and how they've they thought things that I've done already is impossible, and just to show them. And now I see them actually asking, "No, what did you do with your diet? How exactly can you do a diet plan for my patient?" And that sort of things it makes me just feel like I'm actually doing something right, or that all these little events that I'm doing to raise awareness for rare diseases is not in vain. And also, I just want to continue to inspire my athletes to every single day, just to all you can ever do is just try and get out of bed and just do one thing every single day that your future self will be proud of. Like if you can look back and see, wow, I was proud of that. And if you can do one thing at a time, you're going to live a very fulfilling life.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. But I wanted to ask you quickly as well, with a disease like this, I mean, it must be difficult, but you didn't go through it alone. How has Trace accepted it, your family, all that sort of stuff? Has it been a difficult road, or?
It's definitely been a difficult road, but I mean, having family to lean on has been so amazing. Tracy, my wife, has been amazing. She's supporting me throughout the whole journey. When I kind of hit roadblocks with doctors, I mean, after 9 years of being misdiagnosed, I just almost gave up, and she never gave up. She kept on pushing. She would reach out to some of her doctor friends, and they would reach out to other specialists, and they would try this test and this operation. And so she's really been in my corner and just been pushing me to get better and help. And it's not easy. I mean, mixing medication every 2 weeks. We joke about it now, but it's like our date night. Every 2 weeks, in the evening, it takes about 2 hours to mix the medication. And then we have this RV bag. Everything has to be done in such a sterile environment. We have to wear masks, gloves. It has to be done in such a meticulous, slow, controlled manner. And then the next day, a nurse comes to my house, puts a needle in, and then it runs for about 6 hours. So you can see it's a process, and it's been something that it's been hard to get used to. But now I'm thankful, as much as I still don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to get onto this treatment. And, there's maybe some people out there who haven't been diagnosed yet. I want to make sure that I can help each and every person just maybe get diagnosed sooner. Maybe they'll be better off. Maybe you might just save them, kind of thing. And my family, 3 brothers, and all my parents, and they've wholeheartedly tried to give me what I want, and trying to help me as best as they can. But it is very difficult, a rare disease is something that you can't see. When you look at me, I look like a normal person. Maybe 8 years ago, when I was struggling to walk, maybe you would see, oh, there's something wrong with this guy. But now I just have to live with it internally, and just know what I'm doing is enough.
So, Bruce, the misdiagnosis, was that just because of lack of resources in the country, or actually lack of awareness? And
I think at the beginning, when I first started, searching for a diagnosis or searching for what was wrong with me, that they kept on looking at me back then I was still fit and healthy, and they kept on looking at me like, oh no, this guy's just overtraining, this guy's just, there's nothing wrong with this guy. They would see some blood markers were up, but they didn't understand what was causing it. So they didn't really go into depth. Some doctors, give me a false diagnosis, and then I would tell them, I don't think it's that. I said, like, what else can we do? And they'd be like, well, you're not a doctor, so, and they'd basically tell me, this, and send me on my way. I mean, those doctors, I would love to tell them now.
yeah, that's one thing that's tough. Yeah.
And I mean, it actually got to a point where I couldn't get up to the class to go and teach. And a child in my class, her dad was a doctor, and he was the one who actually admitted me into hospital. And he put me under investigation for perhaps Guillain-Barré that I had as a kid, my first virus. And he started getting the specialist to come to me. And then after like 2 months of testing, he actually did some very bizarre, outrageous barrage of blood tests, and he found a genetic mutation. And that genetic mutation was the diagnosis. So even though he thought he was just like a middleman, he was the one who ended up diagnosing me. And he even called me to his office like a late Friday afternoon, and he almost had a smile on his face. He said he's not trying to be like funny or anything, but he just said, you work your whole life to find something as rare as this.
Yeah.
So he's like so happy, and he cannot believe he's diagnosed it.
What is the rarity of it? Like
I think it's 1 in 200,000.
Shit.
Yeah. And so it's not actually that rare. I just think there are a lot of people out there who are possibly carriers and are asymptomatic. And perhaps will only be symptomatic later on in life. But sometimes when they get tested, or when they get found or diagnosed, it's too late for them. Like they can't improve, or maybe they are, almost on their deathbed kind of thing. So now we've really actually improved so much that I think, when you're born, you get a whole bunch of tests and scans that a baby goes through, just through a small little blood vial.
Yeah.
And now Pompe disease is on that barrage of tests. So when you're born, you'll know if you're going to have Pompe disease infantile, or even if you're going to have it as an adult. So if you're going to have it as an adult, you can start treatment from like 14, 15 years old, so that you'll never actually experience symptoms. You'll live a fairly normal life, barring the infusions every 2 weeks.
And you said you struggled with the medical aids. Have they warmed up to the fact that this is becoming more popular, well, not popular, but more relevant in this modern day society?
It's under like my prescribed minimum benefits that they kind of have to cover it.
Yes.
So I'm very fortunate in that regard, because like I said, if I had to tell you the number, it's just frighteningly expensive. And they're not they say that they will cover me for life, but every single year in December, I get put through my paces where they basically send me for a barrage of tests and scans, and I have to pay for that out of my own pocket, just to prove to them that I still have this disease.
Oh, really? So they question you every single year?
Every single year I have to apply for reapproval, and I have to prove to them that the medication is actually helping me. Which it's just an added stress. I think I really don't need each and every year. It has gotten, I would say I've gotten used to it. So I kind of just expect it. And then what they do is they don't send my medication for a month. And that kind of does cause towards the, to go 2 weeks, like I start to feel a little bit of something. To go 4 weeks, my body just goes into huge amounts of pain, and I have to be very controlled with what I do. Everything's super, like I'll just go swimming or walking in the pool again.
Are you reliant on one specific, what would it be, like a pharmacy or something to supply you those medications?
Yes. Yeah. There's one big pharmacy. I think it comes from the States, from America. And then I think they're called Pharmacy Direct. I think they distribute to a bunch of different hospitals or medical aids, but they deal with big, very rare kind of medications and very specific medications like this.
It's just one of my biggest fears, especially with the medical aid side of things, is because number one, I always worry whether South Africa's got enough facilities to diagnose a disease such as this. But then number two, do we have enough facilities to have the medication? And I think a lot of the time, doctors and stuff actually bypass that system, because it might just be a pain in the ass to send blood samples. Were your blood samples eventually, that big smear that you mentioned, was it sent away internationally, or was it actually done locally?
It was sent away internationally.
So that's what worries me, is that we, how many people are getting passed on.
Actually, it was the blood work was done here, but in order to approve that I actually have this, the medical aid wouldn't accept the blood work that I had done here in South Africa. My blood work had to be done with a specific, in a specific way, and had to be sent overseas somewhere. And that 100% confirmed that I had it. In fact, my medical aid they didn't actually agree to it then. They said, no, that's just one. And then they basically said they weren't going to approve it. And I had to kind of get, it's called skin fibroblasts, where they take like a deep tube out of your leg. They take 3 deep tubes, and basically they're taking deep layers of skin tissue. Okay. And then they send it overseas. And then overseas in the lab, they regrow your skin tissues. And then they test the very expensive medication, the enzymes, to your skin cells, and they see if it'll help improve. And it showed that the medication definitely helped. The enzymes definitely helped. So that 100% confirmed that I had Pompe disease. And pretty much the day I got my results was the day I got a phone call from my medical aid apologizing. And they said that they were going to fund my treatment. So that was, that was amazing. And, I think we do have some of the best doctors in the world. But our specialists are all leaving us, unfortunately. Yeah. They're not getting treated well here. Or they're few and far between. So then they misdiagnose, or they're in a hurry to get through a huge number of patients. If you want an appointment with a specialist here in South Africa, you're going to be waiting 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And I needed help today. Yeah. Tomorrow. And
Bruce, I can't tell you how inspiring it's been just listening to you. And you've got such an epic story at the end of the day. I mean, I know it might sound ugly in a sense to say something like that, but it's such a uniquely, and you've done the best you possibly can given the cards you've been dealt. And for me, it's like I say, you were a massive influence in getting me over that finish line in a very long and hot and bothering day, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But what's next? What's your next goal? What's your next race? What do you have planned for the future?
Can I share that one?
Yeah, sure.
So, I mean, besides you and your brother, that you guys have incredible stories. But I think someone always asks me, like, what's your biggest claim to fame? Has your best athlete done? And yeah, sure, I have some top athletes who achieved some pretty remarkable stuff. But I think if you had asked me what is my best claim to fame, it's taking someone from learning to swim, literally blowing bubbles in the water, like literally learning how to blow bubbles, put their face underwater, teaching them how to swim. And then he wanted to do the corporate Ironman, which is only 10% of the Ironmans, 380 meter swim, 18-kilometer bike, and a 4.2-kilometer run.
So he does all 3.
So he does all. Okay, yeah. He wanted to do that, and I was like, 380 meter swim, this is going to be. And I mean, he won't mind me saying his name, Silent Fanek, but I mean, because he's an amazing story on its own. But he got through that. And then he said, do you think I can do the 5150, which is a little bit more, it's Olympic distance. So it's 1.5K swim, 40K bike, 10K run. And I was like, maybe, I'm sure we can work really hard towards it. Maybe we do it next year. Next thing he just tells me, no, he's entered it in like a couple of months' time. I was like, oh, okay. He really put me to the test. So, and he wasn't the last swimmer. I still remember him running past me and said, I'm not last. But he was getting close to that cutoff time. And he completed that, no problem. And I mean, that's like, those stories are incredible. Then not only he said, no, he wants to do a half Ironman. And I think this was in like October, November. And then he said he wanted to do a half Ironman, which is in January. And I said, no, probably not a good idea this year. The next year. I said, let's rather put it as our next goal. Next thing, I mean, it must have been 2 days later. I didn't hear from him. The next message I got was just a screenshot of his entry into the half Ironman, And it wasn't just any half Ironman. It was the half Ironman in East London, which used to be one of the hardest Ironmans you can do. But this guy just put his head down and he just powered on and he finished it. And then I will just continue to say that this just led to the next best.
Yeah.
He finished the full Ironman as well.
Oh, really?
It's like, if I look at a claim to fame or something, like taking someone from learning to swim to finishing a full Ironman is no small feat whatsoever. And I mean, there's so many similar stories like that, you know. Everyone has their own little thing that they need to get over and achieve. But, you know, I would always like to say that achieving something like the Cape Epic was my biggest dream, you know, and it was. But then I just thought of what's the next way to kind of progress from there. The next step was the Manga. And then I've done a couple of bigger triathlon events or other mountain bike events like 100 milers, Transpavillons, those sort of events. And my biggest, I would say, achievement that I could almost just, you know, retire afterwards was end of 2022. I went to Aqua Bike World Champs. It's basically like a triathlon without the run. So you do the swim and then you run to transition. That was quite risky. I mean, I was a bit sore going from a swim to run, and then you bike. So you swim and you bike. That's Aqua Bike World Champs. And that was in Abu Dhabi in end of 2022. And I actually achieved everything I ever could. I wanted to do well, and I ended up winning. I ended up becoming Aqua Bike World Champion. It was the first time they ever had Aqua Bike World Champs. So I ended up becoming the first Aqua Bike World Champ. So I thought about retiring from there. But yeah, as things go on, I always see new challenges and new things that I can kind of throw myself into. And I think for now, just getting the rest of my athletes through Ironman is a big goal of mine. And then I have a couple of like cycling mountain bike stage races that I'm going to be doing. There's a 4-day one in 2 weeks' time, actually. It's been on my bucket list for years, and it's probably going to be quite challenging, but
That one's
a Tankwa trek.
okay.
Yeah, up in the Tankwa area, very rocky, very hot. And then I have another one in February. Then it's get everyone through Ironman. And then I would say I'm taking a little bit of a personal goal this year. Instead of kind of achieving a race, I'm taking a little break after Ironman, because I don't really get a break in December time when everyone else goes on holiday. So I'm taking a little week holiday in April, and I'm going to cycle from across the whole of Lesotho. Basically,
Mountain bike,
I'll be on my gravel bike. Yeah. It'll be, I think, 700 Ks, 18,000 meters of climbing. It's going to be tough, but it's going to be a journey. Like, I'm going to just document it, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Also, I think it'll be a challenge with my condition. So, you know, there's a lot of balancing act there. Make sure I get my treatment before I leave, and make sure I don't get into trouble that side.
And lots of beetroot juice.
Take beetroot juicy. EU juice and meat, just live on it.
But you're not doing the Ironman this year. You'll be there, but
There might be a secret. There's something very special coming in the cards that I'm not allowed to reveal yet. Okay, but it's going to be special. I will be involved there somehow.
I'm so looking forward to that one, because we'll be down. But Bruce, yeah, I just talking about Aspire and everything. Firstly, are you open for people wanting to discuss further about the Pompe disease? Where can they get in contact with you? How?
Most certainly. I think the best way is probably through our aspirelifted.com website, Facebook, Instagram. Those are all the common places you can just, I think, Instagram, Bruce Campbell 87. Boom. And then I would love to chat, and any questions, anyone that you think is going through a tough time, maybe I can help them. Maybe I can give any type of help. I'm willing and open.
And then as well, if they want to get involved with you through coaching or anything like that, same contact.
Same. Yeah, from my email address, my phone number's there. So get a hold of me, and we can help you level up.
Yeah, most definitely. But Bruce, thanks so much for taking out the time. I know you're a busy man, and I know you've got people to go and see and coach and get them completing this Ironman coming up. But once again, thank you so much. You've been a true inspiration in my life, and I'm sure to many others. And I want to say thank you for that. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and Aspire and everything. And I want to wish you well.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.